There's something about tying up your boat at the end of a long ride that just settles the mind. Hands working the rope breeze, playing across the water, and suddenly all these old memories start bobbing up like driftwood. And for folks who've lived a little, those moments, they're the kind of punctuation marks that tell you you're still living your life your way. That's exactly where I was soaking up the quiet, right until a flash of blue and red lights danced across the water next to my slip, and the heavy sound of boots started echoing down the dock. Now I've been around long enough to know when a storm's about to roll in, and sure enough, 2 police officers came down looking more official than any fish I've ever caught. The taller one badge read, Martinez gave me a nod, said, "Excuse me, sir. We got a call about trespassing and unauthorized docking at this marina." Didn't have to guess who dialed. That kind of energy, you feel it before you see it. And there she was, arms crossed, chin tipped up, bleach blonde hair almost glowing under the afternoon sun, Patricia Hendress. Most folks in the neighborhood just call her Karen, whether out loud or behind closed doors. The HOA queen bee herself watching from the shoreline like she was about to win an Oscar. You live through enough of these little wars and you figure out winning's less about the last word and more about the last man standing. But to really appreciate this showdown, you've got to know where it all started, how a bit of bad weather turns into a squall. So let me back up a second, fill you in on the backstory, the kind where paperwork matters and pettiness gets weaponized. 3 months earlier, I bought a house on the edge of Sunset Shores. Not the biggest, not the fanciest, but it came with something special, a deed that included 51% ownership in the Sunset Marina next door. See, the old owner, Frank Morrison, was a legend around here. Military man, real estate whiz, built the marina with his own hands back when this place was just a mess of mud and mosquitoes. He held on to his controlling share all those years, even as the HOA tried to wrap everything in red tape and rules. When Frank passed, his attorney reached out and I didn't hesitate. You don't turn down a legacy like that. Now, Patricia, she'd been HOA president for 7 years, although nobody remembers casting a vote. She ran things with the kind of enthusiasm you'd expect from a traffic cop with a new ticket book always telling people what they could and couldn't do, especially when it came to the waterfront. Your status depended on whether you'd complimented her flower beds that week. First week after moving in, she showed up on my porch with a fake smile and a 3-inch binder. "Welcome to Sunset Shores," she said. "All sweetness and pearls." I've highlighted the most important HOA rules, especially the ones about watercraft. I thanked her, set the binder aside. And that was my mistake, because folks like Patricia expect you to fall in line. When I skipped her emergency HOA meeting meant to welcome the new resident, she took it as a declaration of war. But the real trouble started when I brought down my boat, a 24-foot cruiser I'd babied for years. The minute my trailer touched the marina ramp, she came hustling over, clipboard in hand, lips so tight I thought she might bite right through them. "You can't launch here without HOA approval," she barked. I told her, "Cool, as you please. I live at 47 Waterfront Drive and I own 51% of this marina." Her face went from white to purple in a heartbeat. That should have been the end of it. But with folks like Patricia, there's no such thing as letting go. She started a full-on campaign, emails, flyers, whispers in the cul-de-sacs, even got a couple of old-timers wringing their hands about property values. Suddenly, my cruiser was public enemy number 1. Neighbors would pause on their walks, sighing, shaking their heads like I'd spray-painted graffiti on the American flag. She didn't want a legal win, she wanted me worn down and worn out. She started snapping pictures, hundreds of them, measuring dock distances, claiming I was 3 inches over some invisible line. Even brought in a marine consultant, turned out to be her nephew, a college kid with a GoPro and fishing license. Next HOA meeting, she took the podium like she was testifying in Congress, had slides with red circles and dire warnings, threat to community standards, that sort of thing. I let her run out of steam, then plugged my phone into the projector, pulled up the original deed, and read it out plain. Majority owner holds sole authority over slip assignments, boat approvals, and marina operations. The room got real quiet. Board members shifted in their seats. Patricia turned a shade of red. I didn't know skin could go. She hollered, "Impossible. I've managed this marina for 7 years." I just shrugged. "I didn't take it." "Patricia, I bought it. Want to see the tax records?" She stormed out, but not before swearing she'd have the last word. 2 days later, her next move, she called 911. I got back from a quiet morning ride, and there they were, lights flashing. Officer Martinez looked over my paperwork, took in the whole saga. his partner. Officer Chen couldn't hide a smirk. Patricia was fuming on the sidelines, nails clicking. Martinez finally turned to her and said, "Ma'am, he owns the marina. He can't trespass on his own property." She blurted out something about HOA standards. Chen cut in, "Ma'am, misuse of emergency services is a misdemeanor." That's when the tide turned. Word spread. Neighbors started sharing their own Patricia stories. Tom in Unit 12 got his kayak nearly banned for being too yellow. Sarah in Unit 33 had to write an essay for a boat slip. I called a meeting at the community center, standing room only. I laid out plans for new cleats, better lighting fare policies, no more binder rules, no more favorites, just safety and respect. The place erupted in applause. Patricia couldn't stand it. She stood up, hissed about coups and destroying the community. That's when George Gray Hair steady voice stood up and said, "Patricia, the only thing being destroyed is your stranglehold." The floodgates opened. Folks started bringing up every grudge, the garden gnome ban of 2019, the mailbox color wars, the bird feeder debacle. I told them, plain and simple, the marina runs on fairness now. No more harassment. Period. HUO board voted her out 17 in favor, 2 against 1, abstaining her sister, of course. Recognized my ownership separated marina business for good. Patricia stormed out, but not before spitting, "You'll regret this." Karma doesn't need a clock. She got slapped with a $3,000 fine for the 911 stunt, plus legal fees from all her failed attempts to overturn the vote. Eventually, she had to sell her house. Last I heard, she was in Arizona, landlocked, nowhere near a dock. Me, I put up a small sign at my slip. Owner operated. Now the dock's got kids, fishing neighbors, waving. Nobody measuring inches or thumbing through binders. The rules Patricia made got rolled back one by one. The day she submitted an application for a boat slip, oh, you better believe I stamped it, "Denied." She tried to raise hell, but I just told her, "There's a public marina 6 miles north, maybe they'll appreciate your rule book." Funny thing is, all it took was one phone call hers to start the landslide that set everybody free. Sunset Shores found its peace again. No more whispers, just waves and laughter. And as for what comes next, well, the neighborhood's quieter, but the story's not over. There's always another tide coming in. So, if you've ever had to stand up for what's right or reclaim a little peace from folks who can't stand to lose, let me know down below. Where do you draw the line between order and overreach? Do you think there's ever such a thing as too much HOA? I'd love to hear your stories. And hey, if you want more like this, hit subscribe, because these little victories, they matter, especially for those of us who still believe a community's about neighbors, not enforcers.